So if you were to graph that right, we said anytime we're doing supply and demand,
You talking about G, or the one we just did?
no, this one right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, G. So we have down on the bottom, we said there's always going to be quantity, right? And then price is always over here, right? So what's the highest price that they have there? $10?
Well, I didn't even read the question.
Oh, sorry.
first.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Read the question, sorry.
Okay.
So, here we have, yeah, so the prices goes from 10 down to 7, right?
Mhm.
So we were gonna say this is 10, then goes 9, 8, and 7. And we can assume there's like, it could keep going down, but we're only gonna graph kind of this top half. And then quantity down here is the highest, is what, 7,500?
Mhm.
Right, so we'll say this is.
And then I go down to 500 from there.
And then if we did, yeah, I guess if you were to split that up into like, yeah, so 7,000, let's do this, 6,500 and 6,000. Are those the only three quantities?
No, it goes all the way down to 3,000.
Oh, yeah, here we could go, shoot, then, I'm making this graph too. Well, I'll just put those prices, so we'll go down 1,000 each time, just because, so I can fit it in this graph. So 55, and then 45. Right, and you could assume too,
It needs to go down to 3,000. Unless we're only talking
Oh, yeah,
about quantity
yeah,
supply,
no.
but.
yeah, that's, then we'll do, we'll just keep going down by, just 2. And so 2. So it looks something like this, right? So we have at $10 what's being supplied, right? So that's what this is telling us, right? Saying
Yeah.
at $10 we
7,500.
have 7,500 being supplied, and how much is being demanded?
3,000.
3,000. So it's like somewhere in here, like this. And then at $9 we have
6,500 for supply.
65 supplied
3,500 for demanded.
and 3,500 for demanded, and then
$8 is 5,500.
5,500 being supplied
Mhm.
and demanded
4,000.
4,000, so somewhere in here. And then 7. At $7 it looks like it's equal, right?
4,500.
So basically that's where it intersects, right? So if we think about it, there'd be like a line like this, and there'd be a line like this, right?
Mhm.
Kind of your, yeah, I'll just pretend that's over 45. But, so have you guys talked about price floors then already, maybe? Gone over it a little bit? Yeah, so price floor means that, it's weird, because when you say price floor, you're talking about above equilibrium price, and then a price ceiling is below. So kind of like the opposite of what you would maybe think at first. But the reason is because when they put a price floor up here, they're saying you can't go lower. That's the lowest price you can go, so you can't go lower, because they don't want, what happens is when the government, so like the minimum wage is an example of a price floor, saying like if, for example, like the minimum, or if there was no minimum wage, maybe like people would be able to find someone to work for like $4 an hour, and people would be willing to do that. So the government says like, that's too low, we don't want it to go that low. So they set a minimum wage at $8, which is higher than what the equilibrium is, right? So what happens then is like, so it's saying here, for an example, like what happens at $10, like what's, or at 8, 9, and 10, right? So we can start at $8 and say, like if the government was gonna come in here and say, okay, we're gonna set the price at $8, right? Then what happens here is you have this certain amount that's being supplied and the certain amounts that's being demanded, and they're
Maybe
not.
surplus.
Yeah, so there's more being supplied than demanded, yeah. So, and I think here it wants you to say how much that is, right? So how could you figure that out? Like, it wants to know how much is this gap right here, right? So you could pretty much just take whatever quantity this is and subtract whatever quantity that is, right, to get what's in between.
So it'll be 1,500.
Right, yeah, yep, so it'd be that price at $8. So basically that's saying that there'd be 15, or I guess in this example, what's it saying? It's not saying what product that is.
Mhm.
I guess we can just say if this were like workers, if you're talking about like, because we're talking about minimum wage, kind of just to help us understand it. So it's saying like if the government, so it's saying here at $7, that's perfect, right? Because there's 4,500 people that want to work, and there's 4,500 people that, employers that want people to work for them. But if the government were to say, okay, we're gonna set it at $8, you can't go down to 7, then we have 5,500 people that want to work, but only 4,000 jobs, right? So we'd have like an unemployment, or there'd be a surplus, is what you're saying. Yeah, surplus of 1,500. That's exactly right. Does that kind of make sense, though? Why that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then at $9,
Mm-hmm.
there'd be a surplus of 3,000.
Mm-hmm. And you can see why that would be bigger, right? Each time, because like,
It's going
and
away.
if you think about it in the terms of wages, you know, it's like if they set minimum wage at $25 an hour, like I'm gonna drop out of school and just go work for $25 an hour. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that. And so there'd be a ton of people that would be wanting jobs. The higher the price goes, more and more people are gonna say, oh yeah, I want a job. But the less, that's not gonna change how many jobs are being offered. But yeah. And that could go not just for minimum wage, but it could be like the price. Sometimes you see that with like rent control. Have you ever like heard of rent control? Like the government will say like to certain people in a city, like you can't put your rent higher than this price. Like it has to be this price. That's the other way around. That's a price ceiling. So that would be down here, and that'd say like you can't put your price up above what it is, and then all of a sudden what you have there is you have a shortage. So, and maybe, are you sure, is there a question about shortages on the next page? Do you know? Okay. Because I bet there would probably be, or maybe not. But yeah, so you could say that same question about a shortage, right? So, or a price, so that's a price floor, and then a price ceiling is like below, and then you have a shortage. But I guess what I'm saying is if you can draw it out like this, then you can understand and you can see like, oh yeah, like this is many people are being supplied, this is being demanded, then I can see there's a gap, and that's a surplus.
So floor is above equilibrium, ceiling is below equilibrium.
Yeah.
That's tricky.
Right, yeah. So, and the way to think about it is like, the equilibrium's bad, right? We don't want the equilibrium. So we're gonna set this floor, and we can't go below it, right? So that's a limit, right? So
But
it's like
equilibrium
set
is good though.
floor.
Don't we want to?
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, and so the only time that you do ceilings and floors is when we determine that this equilibrium is not good, right? Because like in the example of wages, with minimum wages, like because what's the minimum, do you know what minimum wage is right now in Idaho? In Idaho it's like $8 or something, yeah, 7 something, 7.80 or something, I don't know what it is. But I guess, so the reason that the government has set it at that price, or where are you from? Are you from?
I'm from Minnesota.
Minnesota, that's right, you were saying. I don't know do you know what minimum wage is in Minnesota?
$7.25.
$7.25, yeah, so it's, all around the country it's around 7. I know in California it's a little bit higher, because it costs more to live there, but I guess the point I'm saying is that the government has decided that equilibrium is too low for people to live off, you know, because if there was no minimum wage, then people would probably, like, those jobs at maybe Walmart, they would probably maybe get people to work for them for $5 an hour, right? But those people wouldn't be able to survive off $5 an hour. So that's why the government says, okay, equilibrium in this case is not good. And so it's only special cases, and it's not for everything that they do this. And obviously, whenever they do it, there's drawbacks, right? That's like this shortage right here.
Yeah.
We're saying like, and that's why some people argue against the minimum wage, is because they say, okay, every time that they increase minimum wage, that's like more people want to work and less people are supplying jobs. So really all you do when you increase minimum wage is like I mean, if you think about that, if you look at this point right here, so at $8 an hour, right, this amount of people are going to get jobs, where at equilibrium, this amount of people got jobs, right? So all these people lose their job from minimum wage getting increased. And so that's what people say, like, oh, it's bad, they should just let it. But then the government's saying, oh yeah, but all these people right here, they'd be just like in poverty, they'd be just making barely enough to survive. And so but yeah, you're right, there's drawbacks to doing those.